Hi, welcome to Qigong Live Online. This is the Beginner series. And today we're going to do focus on our rotation today, the understanding of how we rotate. And we're going to do some exercise and talk a little bit about the rotation principle, about how we turn in our body when we're doing exercise and things. So let's bow into the class and we'll get into it. So roll back onto your thumbs, left hand underneath, right hand on top, two thumbs together, gong. Make a fist with the left hand, cover it with your right, then bring it towards your heart, and then bring your hands down. There you go. Even involved a yawn. So with the rotation, so you understand the principle of rotation is we're moving our hips. Yep, we move our hips from side to side. And when we move as a human being, we only move three different ways. I'm dyslexic, I pulled up four fingers and say three, but there's three different ways. And the first one is we change weight. We move from side to side. Yeah. Now we do that when we're walking because we have to completely change weight. Otherwise, you can't pick the foot off the ground. You step forward, you change weight onto that foot, and then you pick the foot up. So we learn how to move this weight. When we turn around, we step to the other side. We turn around, we take the foot off, and we change weight. And we're moving this energy from one foot to the other to maintain the balance. The second part we do is we rotate. We turn. We turn when we do things, and we turn either one leg or we turn with one. We turn, we're always turning, but we're turning from our hips. And we stay stationary, we just turn from side to side. The other one's up, down. The only way you can jump off the ground is you have to push down first. It's impossible. You can try that now. Try and stand there and then jump off the ground without pushing down. It's impossible. You have to push down to jump, yeah? And so those three principles are everything to do. And the push down, because we're not always jumping, but every time you walk, when you walk, you push down and the foot goes forward. You push down and it comes forward. It's part of the movement. There's other ways of walking without pushing down, but that's the principle of that. And when you turn, you push down on the foot to turn. You push down on the foot to turn. Yep. And so these principles pretty much govern everything you do in the body and the way the body functions. We're just going to talk about one of them, which is just the rotation, which is in lots of exercise and lots of Qigong exercise, especially if you're not moving and you're staying static and you're doing exercise with a move. We're going to do a couple today to show you. But first of all, we're going to talk about the rotation itself. And before we do the rotation, we're going to warm ourselves up. So we're going to do the hip movement where we just turn our hips. And we're going forward and backwards, just doing rotations like that. You put your hands on your hips, you can have your hands to the side, doesn't make any difference. If I go to the side, you can see that I'm going forward and backwards. That way, that's it. And you want to be big circles. Depending on your flexibility, I've seen some people sitting out and they do right out like that, right down the back. You want the rotation because you're rotating in the hip joints as well. The hip joints are rotating forward and backwards at the same time. Your pelvis is rotating forward and backwards as well. So there's a lot of movement going on from this, which you want. You have that movement. And so that as we turn, all our ligaments and tendons in our hips, we have lots of tendons and ligaments that hold us in structure through our hips. We actually have more ligaments, tendons, and fascia connected to our hips and our hip mobilization of our movement through our hips than anywhere else in the body. There's more power, more muscles connected to that movement of turning like that than anything else because there's so much going on. There's so much rotation not to do with that. Your spine as well. You have your spine, your hips, your knees, the top of your femur are all connected, and we've got all this multitudes of muscles and connected. Have you ever seen a picture of a muscular aspect of the body and you have a look at all the fibers through the hips? There's so many linkages of all these different things, the mechanics to be able to make you do that, make you bend forward and backwards, go from side to side. There's just so many things involved with that. It's an extraordinary piece of structure to try and make a robot that can do that, and can do all these other motions that we can do in our body and distort ourselves in really funny angles to make it robot. It's very difficult. That's why you see them very stiff, because they actually have that flexibility to be able to do that, shorten and lengthen ligaments. Very, very tricky. So we can do that. So we're a lot more flexible than that. We can do that. And we can practice that. And you want to have the flexibility in the hips. You don't want, because if they get too stiff, you end up having hip operations and things. So you want to have all the flexibility in your hips as much as you can. Now, saying that, of course, you could have a hip alignment that's out of alignment. No matter how much stretching you do, it's going to hurt your hip and you could get a hip operation. It's got nothing to do whether you exercise or not. There could be something, a formation thing when you were young, which is beyond that. Yeah. I don't say it's always. I don't like to use the word exact because there's always exceptions to every rule. And even the rule, somebody said the other day, said, "Oh, what about the exceptions when you're dead?" I said, yeah, but people have died and come back, so I'm not 100% sure of that one either. People have had post-death experiences, pretty amazing. There's a video on YouTube, on Netflix about it. It's phenomenal. The woman was underwater for 30 minutes underwater, dead, and she come back. So there's something going on with that. And her experience of that is quite extraordinary. Anyway, so this is moving the hips. And so we want to have this flexibility in our hips, not only side to side, we also want to do the side to side movement of the hips that way. So you can feel the hip going up and down that way. So you're rocking up and down, that movement of the hip. Like I'm doing the Watusi. Yeah, so you want to have that movement. You also want to have the forward and backwards movement. So I'll go from the side so you can see that. So you're pulling your pelvis forward and backwards. So you have the sacrum going forward and backwards. So you have that flexibility inside your spine and inside your hips. So you have that one. And the one we did before was going from side to side, which is that one. To be able to move them up and down that way. And then you want to be able to move that way. So there's all these way our body and our hips move. It's extraordinary. And remember, ligaments, tendons, muscles, fascia, everything that's used in the sinews involved with doing that are different to the ones that are doing that. And of course, they're definitely different than the ones that are going forward and backwards. So there's a lot of functionality in that. So once you get all that freedom and you have this freedom inside your hips, you become like a belly dancer, which is to it on another level of flexibility. And so you have the idea. So when we use that principle, now that we've warmed it all up and it's nice and free, so when we turn, the turning's a lot more freer because the ligaments and tendons are already warmed up. They've been stretched, released, stretched, released, stretched, released, because you do that every time you move from side to side. One ligament tightens up, well, this one here is tightened up, and the other one's stretched. And then when you go to the other side, this one tightens and the other one stretches. So we're having this push-pull of the ligaments, so you're moving them up and down while you're doing this. You're moving them forward and backwards, you're stretching them up and down while you're doing that. And so the whole thing is just, they're all now all nice and loose and they're stretched, because when you first wake up, they're quite stiff because they haven't been moving, and then you just activate them. So what's important to do stretching first thing in the morning and wake your body up in the morning. That's why you get out of bed and go, ugh, it's actually really good for you. So we've got the idea of the flexibility moving now. Now we go back to the rotation. So if you did this rotation without doing the stretches, you'd be able to compare the two of how stiff it would feel first, and then when you do this, how unstiff it, I'm not sure unstiff's the right word, flexible it is the second time. When you go back here, you'll find this is so much easier than it was the first time without any stretching. The first time it's almost, you can hear it creaking, because it's stiff. And it's all that, but then all of a sudden you loosen it all up, and now the rotation is really simple. The body rotates really simple, and as smooth as you can get it. Now you want to teach in Taiji Qigong, you teach your body how to do the rotation. And so that you get to the stage where your ligaments and tendons haven't got any stretch in them at all, you're just turning with energy. The energy turns, and the ligaments are so relaxed that they don't connect, they just move in and out, but there's no tension in them, they're just relaxed. And so as you turn from side to side, they turn backwards and forwards like this. There's no tension holding them, having to move, stretch it one way, stretch the other. Now it's just moving fluidly between the two of them. And so there it's just moving. But the thing's what's moving is there's no tension inside it at all. It's just energy moving the body, and they're just moving with no tension. So we have that idea like that. And we're trying to get to that place where the body's just relaxed. Everything's relaxed, let go. And then the energy can move your body. Yep. Very cool. We have that idea. Good. So we're going to take that, so as a beginner, I'm going to take that into one level up again. And so we've got the idea of the rotation. When you have your arms, of course, when you rotate, the arms just hang. Yep. And there's part of that when you rotate that. But I want to take it to a different one today. So we're going to go across. We're going to go across to one side, and you're going to rotate on the top of one of your legs, and then go across the other side, and then rotate all the way around that leg, and then come back to the other side. Then rotate all the way around. So you're rotating on one leg. Go across, rotate on one leg. Good, go across, rotate on one leg. So what I would like you to do is, and this is the easy way, is go right across first, then turn on the one leg, go right round first, then come back. So don't sort of don't go across and turn on the way there and then turn on the way back. I want you to go all the way across. So learn how to go cross, rotate on one hip all the way around. Don't come back yet. Then come across, stop, rotate all the way around first. On one hip, stop, then come back the other side. Stop, rotate. So you're learning how to rotate on the top of one femur. The joint of the femur joint, which is the big bone in your leg, comes across. And we're sitting in the board and we're rotating on the femur joint. Yeah. And then come back the other way. And then rotate on the other femur joint. And learn how to do this. Now there are a lot of ligaments and tendons to hold your femur in place because it's the biggest joint in your body. And it has the biggest ligaments and tendons holding it because it's the biggest joint. And so we're learning how to move all those ligaments and tendons that are holding that joint and let them relax. Come across the other side. Turn. Good. Come across the other side. Turn. Come across the other side. Turn. Come across the other side. Turn. 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 Perfect. Good. So that's the idea. And this is a practice in itself, just to get used to this. And do it slowly and turn first. And get used to doing it on the point. Go right across, turn. You can do the other one, which looks like a figure eight and looks like that, where you're going across and turning on the way there and turning on the way back, and you have this movement like this. I would encourage you, if you do the figure eight like this, is don't stick your hip out. Don't stick your hip out like that. Go right across and turn. Go right across and turn. And even though you're doing the figure eight, keep your back and everything straight. Your hips and everything all in alignment, so when you're turning, the body's turning like that. Yep. And you don't do the hip, sticking the hip out thing. Yep. Because it'll short circuit your energy. You don't want to do that. It doesn't make your energy function as strong as you do if you keep your back straight and you just turn that way. Very cool. So there's some variations to it. We'll do an exercise from Shubashu. We do one when we just turn the hips and we don't do the from side to side. We just do the hip one. I'll do one of those for a second. So we do turn and gaze at the moon from the Shubashu Taiji Qigong system. Have your hands there. We're going to go to the right side first and turn and feel your hips rotating and turn behind. And you're looking up in the air as though you're looking at the moon, because it's called turn and gaze at the moon. And then the hands come back down to the center. And then the hands come back up again. And you're watching the hands. Comes up, turn. Then it comes back to center. Watch your hands. But don't look, just look down. Don't bend your head down. Just look down. And then look up to the other side. Good. You breathe out as you come to the center. And you breathe in as you come up. Now, the whole focus, of course, is we're doing today is you're rotating your hips. Feel your hips rotate right to the side. Then you feel your hips rotate, brings your arms back. The rotation of hip is moving your arms. Not your arms the other way around. Your arms moving your hips. Your hips are moving your arms. You feel the stretch to the back. Then come to the front. Rotate your hips. Remember, stay double weighted the whole time so that the weight doesn't change on your kidney points. Just your hips are rotating. Back to the center. Now, not only are you rotating your hips, you're rotating your knee joints, your ankle joints, your spine, and your neck, because you're looking behind as well. So the whole spine's rotating. It's all coming from the hips rotating. Okay, we'll do one more each side. Breathing out as you come down. Breathing in as you come up. Breathing out as you come down. Breathing in as you come up. Last one. Breathing out as you come down. Good. So we're going to do an exercise that does a cross, because we might as well, if I've shown you the principle of the turn, goes across and turns. I'll show you an exercise that does that, so you understand where it fits in. It comes from Tai Chi, but it's actually in the Shi by Shi system. But it's wave hands over the lake, or no, wave hands and clouds. I get the right name. Something to do with waving your hands. It's wave hands and cloud, or cloud hands. Sometimes you call it. The Chinese character means pretty much the same thing. So the idea is you're moving your hand. So I'll set that up for you. So you bring your hand up, bring your right hand up, then turn around, and then goes out to the left, and then the other hand comes up. If you haven't already done this exercise, then now the left hand, the right hand's in, and you turn your head around. I'm mirroring you, so you do the same as me. Then the palm comes down, the other one comes up. You turn your body. Now remember, the hips are turning. The palm goes out, the other hand comes up. Now this is not necessarily easy to do, so you might have to watch this video a couple of times to get the hang of this one. Palm goes down, palm comes up. Now I've done this a few times in the other classes. I think it's in some of the other weekly classes in the library. You'll find this exercise as well. It's called cloud hands. Good. And we turn. So all we're doing, if we think about it, is we're rotating our hip from side to side, and then rotate our hips back the other way as we turn our hands. Hands come up, then rotating our pelvis again, it comes back the other way. So our hips are driving the arms. Arms are just following where the hips are going. Hips go first. Now I'm going to add another piece to this, which is the movement of the body's weight. So we're going to go across and then turn. And then we're going to back across the other way, and then turn, which is what we did before. We're going to move the weight from one side to the other, then turn. So this is an example of how we change weight, and then we turn, like the figure 8 we talk about. Go across first, then turn. Go across first, then turn. Cross first, then turn. Cross first, then turn. Perfect. Rotate. Cross, rotate. Across, then rotate. Done really slowly. Across first, then rotate. Notice I'm rotating on one leg. I'm not rotating on the way across. I'm rotating when I get there. I come back, then I rotate. Then I come back, then I rotate. Very good. Rotate, come back. And so you might have to watch this a couple of times. It's a bit tricky doing this exercise, but get over the idea of the principle there. Back, rotate. Good, and just finish there. Bring your hand back down. So remember what's happening with this exercise. We're going back and we're turning. We go back and then we're turning. Back and we're turning. Now the original one I showed you was the opposite to this. Back, turning. Back, then turn. Back, then turn. The original one I showed was going forward and turning. Forward and turning. Forward and turning. But this one's the opposite. That way you're still doing a figure 8, just doing a reverse. Back and turn. Back and turn. Back and turn. And so it's just happening with the hips, back and turn. Back and turn. The thing is, when you usually see somebody, or you see a Tai Chi exercise, a Qigong exercise, whatever, usually watch the arms, because the arms are distracting. You see the arms, what's going on. But the most important part is what's happening with the legs and the feet, because that's where all the power comes from. This is like the end of the whip. This is the end of the tree. This is the branch of the tree. But what's going on down the trunks and the root is very important. And so when we're rotating from the hips, the hands are coming from the rotation. That if I'm rotating my hips, the hands are very easy to be distracted by the hands. But it's what's going on down here that's the most important part, because that's driving the arm. Yeah, and even when you're doing that, it's coming from the hip. It's not a hand thing, it's a hip thing, and the hand's completely empty. It's just coming from that. And so once you get that, and you want the fluidity in your hips, you want the relaxation in your hips and all the sinews nice and supple, so they can just relax and relax and relax. The sinews, the tendons, the fascia, everything relax inside your hips. And then when you're walking, you feel like you're floating because there's no tension in there. And you don't want tension in the body because it stops the chi moving. Yep. And so that's the whole idea about the whole relaxed thing, that the whole body, the body's relaxed, the arms are relaxed, everything's just relaxed. And then but inside that relaxation, there's a lot of power, because we think, oh, we're all relaxed and we're soft and we're floppy. No, because inside that is the power lives inside there too, because you get extraordinary amount of energy inside the relaxation. And so it can go from relaxed to power very quickly, and just goes like that. And it just changes instantly, because you can just generate power through the relaxation. So as much as it looks like that is not floppy, it's just full of energy. It's like a big spring, a big steel spring. And it's like pushing the spring down, push it 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 down. And you have the spring compressed, and you walk around with the feeling of all that energy that's pushed down in that spring. You have all that energy of the compressed energy. You have that energy in your body, but your body's relaxed. And everything's relaxed, and the hips relaxed, everything's relaxed. But if you want it, it can just come out of the body. You can just let it go, and it just fires out of the body, because you've got all that power. So it's not just floppy, it's actually powerful. It's a different thing. But you get the power from the relaxation, not from the stiffness. Because if you're stiff, it's just stiff. It's just muscles and tension. Yeah, it's a very different thing. When you notice people that spar and boxers and things, you just see, and they spar, and they're always relaxed. They're punching, they're jabbing, they're doing it, but you see the arms are relaxed. They're not stiff like this. It'll look bad when I do that. It feels even worse. But understand, it's inside. The power lives inside the relaxation, which is the opposite of what you'd think. But you get more power when you're relaxed. Anyway, hopefully that's helped you anyway. And just go back and watch the video again if you need to, because the figure eight, the cloud hands, that's not a necessary and easy exercise to do. And just go back and watch it, and watch how I set it up so that you can practice it. Yeah, very good. If you have any questions, please ask. Okay. Have a beautiful day. Being relaxed and powerful today. The opposites of what they think like. All back onto your thumbs. Left hand underneath, right hand on top, 2 thumbs together. Gong. Make a fist with your left hand, cover it with your right. Bring it towards your heart. Then down to your physical form. Very cool. Step back, bow to each other. And if anybody watches this program afterwards, or a year's time, if you have any questions, please ask. I'll come and I'll answer it for you. You're very, very welcome. And just stay relaxed today. Remember, inside the relaxation is where the power is. It's where the health is as well. The stiffness causes dysfunction inside the body. That relaxation causes better health and longevity. Have a beautiful day, beautiful week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.